Good morning. I call the Planning and Economic Development Committee to order at 10:20 on March 24th. Will the clerk please call a roll?
Here. Here.
Here. Thank you. Are there any corrections to the last month's meeting minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Okay, so our first item on our agenda today is an overview of our planning department with Director Troy Waffner. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for preparing a presentation for us. And so I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. And I know you've heard from economic development and community development. We're happy to be here as well to kind of go over our mission, our values, kind of our work, to our staffing, and then I think we wanted an update, a quarterly update on Plan Onondaga, and we'll talk about all that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. So let's get started. So, our mission and values, the Onondaga County Department of Planning provides a variety of planning services and promotes effective planning for the city of Syracuse and the 19 towns and 15 villages which make up this county. We try to follow the best practices in the areas of public participation, citizen engagement. We work to ensure an equitable and effective planning environment to develop policies that resonate with individuals and local communities. And the overall goal is really to work with the other departments, work with the municipalities to really create great communities that we all want to live in, equitable communities that we all find attractive and has everything we want in that. If you just kind of look at the quick overview and you get beyond the mission, we work to guide land use development and long-range growth while supporting local municipalities with data and mapping. We do this kind of through two areas at the planning department. The first is GIS, which does our mapping, and then planning, which really focuses on coordinating zoning, transportation, and housing opportunities. Overall, we have 12 employees. 4 of those are in our GIS, 6 of those are in our actual planners, and then you have 2 that are mainly administrative roles at the department. The GIS is usually the most overlooked part of our department, in some ways the most exciting part of our department. They work with municipalities, other county departments, they work with developers, they work with businesses, and they acquire, maintain, and update a wide variety of spatial data sets, maps, and applications, and they make most of that useful for the public as well. If you go to our website, you can certainly go on our GIS and you can pull up addresses, you can pull up places in the counties, and play with the layers on there that show everything from sewer and water districts to wetlands to snowmobile trails, if that's your fancy. And then they also work on a wide variety of other things that they put out there. They certainly maintain the website. They maintain the aerial photography inventory and work to get that done on a regular basis. They create story maps. We have a drone that we employ, and we have a drone pilot who goes out and assists with all of that. And then, as odd as it sounds, what I think is the neatest part, they're involved in address administration. I guess part of this is I never knew where street addresses came from, right? But they actually, if you want to create a new street, there's actually a process they go through. They number the street, they get the street name approved along with folks at 911, and they go through that entire process, as well as updating that and working with 911 to make sure that the addresses match, and when you call the ambulance, it actually knows where it's going and it knows that the street address is correct.
The other great thing about this is they do a lot of work with our towns and villages and save a lot of money for especially the smaller towns that can't necessarily afford the big GIS programs and stuff. And they've been really, really great to help out. Yeah, Don Jordan and his team do a great job.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I just had a question, but go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I love GIS. I'm there constantly digging into information. You can draw your districts, you can get addresses. It's a fantastic resource. With a lot of the municipalities have their own zoning and zoning maps. This kind of shows you use, but you kind of have to dig down into it. Is there any way that layer could be applied, or is it too challenging because they're just different zones everywhere?
Depending on the municipality, we will actually maintain zoning maps for some municipalities.
Oh, okay.
We do it at their request, and so we keep them maintained and updated. So depending on the municipalities, we can produce updated zoning maps.
Okay,
for you.
great.
And if there's any special requests, I don't think people always realize that we provide this service, but certainly if there's anything anybody needs in terms of mapping or spatial data sets, let us know, and we can put together a wide variety of maps for a wide variety of uses. The other piece that's out there publicly is actually just our parcel viewer, which is kind of fun just to play with. This, if you ever looked at a piece of property and you want to know who owns it, you can go on there and actually pull up the owner, the address of the owner, contact information and everything. But they're a great resource for the county to have. The other part is what you think of. If you think of planning, the other part's what you think of, our planners. You know, the planning department focuses on the long-range visioning, policy development, execution of local, countywide, and regional plans. They deal directly with the implementation of Plan On and making sure that the 5 themes get put in there. We also provide staff to the Onondaga County Planning Board, which resides at the Planning Department, and then the County Legislature's Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board. And we deal with all things agriculture for the most part in the county. We also, last week, we actually had our planning symposium that we put together with the Onondaga County Planning Federation, and it's a chance for municipalities to send planning board members, town board members, elected officials to come and receive their required amount of continuing education and training and everything from, you know, site plans to site variances and everything in between. And it's a great time. We had about 350 people come to the training, and obviously as part of that, we don't push our own agenda, but we certainly push the themes of Plan On to make people understand the need for housing, the need for greenways, the need for agriculture. So everybody is hopefully on some sort of on the same playing field with us when it comes to that. Yeah, as I mentioned, I mentioned both of these, but you know, a couple of our partners are the Onondaga County Planning Federation. It's actually a not-for-profit. We provide a lot of staff for it, and we put together the annual planning symposium. And then the County Planning Board, which receives referrals from municipalities based in general municipal law, if it's within so many feet of county or state highway or property, or et cetera. And there are 2 permanent members of that board by county charter, the commissioner of the DOT and the county comptroller. The rest of them are appointed. It meets every 3 weeks, and on average, we'll see about 25 cases per meeting. And they range from, you know, simple questions about signs to, you know, kind of the more impactful stuff we take a look at to see how a large housing project or development will affect county highways, state highways. And we bring all of our partners together prior to those meetings, including DOT, Department of Health, WEP, county DOT and state DOT, as well as others, to really go over anybody's concerns or ideas or issues with those, so we can really provide a good outcome to the municipality and lay it out for them what they're looking at in terms of the development, any effects that development may have, positive or negative.
I can say when I was on the town board, that was very helpful.
It's really great. Some of the other partners we deal with, I mean, you know, the ones you'd suspect, the Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council and the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board. We sit on both of those boards. We work closely with them in terms of various planning projects they're working on or other projects. And then, you know, we come to the Bible, we take our direction from it at the planning department. Plan On. It has 5 themes. 5 individual themes, but certainly not independent themes as they come together, because each of these themes come together as kind of the brick and mortar of how we want the community to look, right? We want access to greenways. We want good housing. We want strong centers. We want a strong agricultural sector. So it's really, how do we bring all those together so they define community success for all of us across the county? And I'm sure some of you guys have heard these before, you know them, so I'm not going to belabor them, but we'll go through them quickly. You know, Plan On strong centers. You know, at its core, this is what you think of in terms of villages, in terms of the city center, in terms of walkable town centers. And really, how do you think about that as you create new development, you're looking at new development? How do you put all that together so you don't have a housing development here and a mile away a grocery store and there's no connection between the two other than a car? And that leads right into housing in neighborhoods and expanding the housing choice, making sure there's equitable options for everyone across the community, and making sure there's enough housing that addresses the need, and really making sure we're building to the market in a lot of ways. I mean, what last thing we want is oversupply of housing or undersupply of housing, because neither does the community any good. So if you can try to line up the housing proposals with the need, it certainly helps in terms of scaling. Community mobility, and this is, certainly we're not going to lose our cars anytime soon, right? But this is making sure that all of the above, that includes all of the above, whether it's bicycles, pedestrians, e-bikes, trails. Mass transit is obviously important in promoting mass transit and getting it into more communities. and we work with all the partners on that from Centro on through. And then greenways, blueways. Thankfully, we're blessed in this community with a fantastic trail network. We're blessed in this community with a density of lake and waterways that we can use. And so we start off with a great base, and it's just expanding that. It's not just expanding in terms of the number of trails available. It's expanding in terms of connectivity, so it actually becomes a piece of the transportation infrastructure. So you can start out where we sit now, and you can get on the Empire State Trail and go to Camillus, and then go to Martisco and Marcellus, and down to Otisco Lake, or out to Skinny Atlas, and connecting the Charlie Major Trail eventually, north of the town of Elbridge and up through there. And it's really just expanding that connectivity so it makes some sense. And so it's just not random miles of trail, but it's actually miles of trail that connect to one another. And then agriculture. We are one of the largest ag economies in upstate, New York State as a whole. And both in terms of actual direct agriculture, and then when you start looking at the processing capacity we have in the state, whether it's or in this county, whether it's Burned Dairy or others, it's hanging on to that agriculture and growing it along with making sure we're growing our communities as well. And plan on Onondaga update. It's just a quick kind of update on where we are, programs we've been working on, and kind of where we're headed. The first is strong centers. The idea is to strengthen the quality of life and economic stability of local communities through the development of amenity-rich and vibrant, walkable communities. Some of the things we've been working on are certainly town and village planning grants, which have been huge in terms of actually providing municipalities with a means of updating their comprehensive plans. Until this, a lot of municipalities, I'm not going to say they didn't take comprehensive planning seriously, they didn't have the money to actually do a lot of it. I mean, your typical comprehensive plan can cost $150,000 or more. So by the county kicking in the vast majority of that money, it's allowed at this point 15 communities to update their comprehensive plans, which is about 7 villages and 8 towns overall. And we have several more that we're working with and we're interested in updating as well. And this is huge because it's that blueprint for growing a town, right? It's everything the community does. There's an extreme amount of public outreach to really garner ideas and suggestions, then coming up with an action plan that can be implemented instead of just thrown on a shelf somewhere. And that's really the idea. And of the 15 who've done that, we're working with them on a lot of the implementation of it and really kind of moving in that direction. And then phase 2 of our housing plan. We did phase 1, which falls into housing and neighborhoods as well. But phase 2, one of the nice parts about it in terms of strong centers is we've actually had the consultant take a look at some of those shopping plazas we all see and the ones we know that need a hug, right? And there's a lot of them out there. Every town has at least one, and it's really looking at how do you re-envision that. So if you look at the old Kmart Plaza up in Mattydale, just because it's my favorite example, how do you take that from what it is and actually create a mixed-use community of housing, of stores? And that's kind of one of the things they're playing with right now. And then, once you get the kind of the general picture done, what type of zoning do you actually implement it when you get done? So they're looking at a few of those shopping centers. And the idea is it's specific to that plaza, but it can be done on similar plazas throughout the county.
So with that, many of these are privately owned. So the goal is for the municipalities to kind of lay the way for what they want to see to potentially be built in the future.
Absolutely.
But then at the same time, that really depends on the private sector to take on that initiative to then build it.
Yeah, it's one of those, you hope it's a field of dreams in many ways, right? But you hope you provide the vision, and then the municipality can get behind it, and eventually the property owner. But yes, all of these are privately owned for the most part. And the ultimate idea is to get them on board.
Thank you, Chair. The study that should be released in the second quarter, what's the status?
They are going through, they're writing the initial draft so we can take a look at it for final edits. Putting everything together. I mean, it'll be out in a second. Yeah, oh yeah.
How does the process work? Like, there would be a draft. Is there like a comment period on that kind of thing, or is it more just like, here's the information we've kind of learned about?
We've done a lot of public outreach on this, especially with municipalities and planning boards, zoning boards, elected officials. And we've incorporated other, and we've had some follow-up meetings as we've gotten more information. The first draft is really provided for editing and wordsmithing to some extent. I mean, all of the towns, most of the towns we've talked to are aware of what's in there at this point. So, but yes, it's on track.
The comprehensive plans, are there any trends? Are there any like continuity between them? Like, are we saying that they should include XYZ, or are we just funding them?
No, we actually try to take an active part in each comprehensive plan. So one of our planners will actually sit on the steering committee, because obviously density is always density is always an issue in municipalities. Various types of housing are always an issue in municipalities. So we try to steer the conversation. At the end of the day, it's still their comprehensive plan, and we certainly aren't going to go in there with baseball bats and tear the place up. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you want to, I wouldn't complain if you force housing. But I understand.
I guess that brings up a good point though, because like the county has a comprehensive plan. So like, can a town completely create a comprehensive plan that doesn't follow the county's? It seemed like that would be not.
For the most part, I mean, we get some level of buy-in.
Okay.
I'm not going to say we get 100% buy-in, but we get a level of buy-in and understanding conversation, which we wouldn't be getting if we weren't funding comprehensive plans, just to some extent. And I think the trend is most understand the need to do something, right?
So the county's comprehensive plan really is like a master plan, and then the local municipalities is like the actual.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neighborhood.
Obviously, the county has no control over.
Yeah, that's
No,
yeah. Yeah.
So we work, but we do work closely with the municipalities, and certainly through the county planning board. When we get proposals, we make recommendations on how to improve those in terms of the county comprehensive plan.
Great.
Thank
you. Greg, do you have a question?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
All right. Housing and neighborhoods. So we did housing study phase one, which kind of gave us the 10,000-foot view of the housing market, where we were, what was coming, and what was coming with the positive impact of Micron in terms of housing. We wanted to follow that up with kind of taking a more micro view of the world with housing phase two, to really get down to the zoning efforts, get down to the kind of the vision of what some places could look like, and getting down to how stuck is the housing market, for lack of a better description, and how do you unstick it if it is stuck? And what does all of that mean? And it is going to be done in, it'll probably be released in the second quarter of 2026. And I see a lot of people, and I hear a lot of things. We're 6,000 houses behind. We're 10,000 houses behind. Whatever people say, and I don't know if that's true or not. What I think the trend is, if you really look at it, is to a certain extent, at least over the last 3 years, real estate, the housing has been built to the market. So as people have come in, they've built the number of houses developers have. Whether it's right or wrong, they're trying to build to the market. And as I said, what I don't think we want to see is a vast oversupply of housing at this point. So, but what you're starting to see in a lot of ways is, as Micron breaks ground, as you do see more and more jobs coming in related to Micron, as people are moving here, you're starting to see the release of housing and the continued building of the market. So in 2025, there were 1,700 housing unit building permits released, which is a great number when you look at, it's a 400% increase over 2 years ago and a 200% increase over a year ago. And you're going to see that trend continue to grow as we get closer and closer to the opening date of Micron. I mean, the 10-year average for housing permits is 925. So next year we'll more than double that going on this trend, and you'll continue to see that grow exponentially, I think, as the market continues to build. Like I said, an underserved market and an overserved market are never good places. You want to tie it as close as you can to the market itself.
Legislator Erickson?
On the housing, on phase two of the housing study, is that going to get into different types of housing that may be oversupplied or undersupplied?
Yeah, it talks about typologies of housing in general. I mean, it will talk about the stock of housing we have. It's not necessarily going to get into oversupply or undersupply of each kind, but it's going to talk about what are we missing, right? Are we missing townhouses? Are we missing condos? Are we missing other types of alternative housing that we might not have, that people are looking for? And, as you well know, there's a changing trend, from the 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,500 square foot house with a family of 5 to what is quickly becoming the average household size under 2 people. And, so you're seeing houses start to shrink down as they're being built. and just different types of housing. Young people, I'm not as young as I used to be, so my vision is different. But you know, younger people are looking for a different type of housing as well.
Well, they're looking for something that's less than $500,000 bucks.
Exactly, exactly.
I just want to walk to the store.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a big deal. You've
I know,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
You've mentioned oversupply 5 times.
Yeah.
Never heard this. Like, I understand what it means as a concept, but for Central New York, this is really foreign to us. Oversupply. Is there a fear of this? Like, this is a serious question. I've
I
never
know,
even
no.
thought of that as a problem.
No, I think people want to, people, honestly, I think we have seen oversupply in this market back in the 2010s, yes.
Okay.
As they were building up Cicero and areas like that, I do think you probably hit a point of oversupply in some of that.
Okay.
But it's, I wouldn't say it's a fear, but you want to balance the market the best you can. And part of the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people have talked to me about we're 6,000 houses behind, and I'm not sure if that's true. I think it's more looking at how many people are moving in and how is the supply going.
For sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, good.
As far as phase two, again on phase two, there's a note up there about the financial gaps existing in getting new types of units built. Can we expect to see something in this report about incentives that may be out there to help attract developers to build townhouses, starter homes, things like that? That can help prevent people from getting priced out and can help prevent people from, people's kids who want to move back who can't afford it.
Yeah, I think there is going to be a piece in there that talks about how do you get over that financial gap to getting more development done.
Legislator Knapp.
Thank you. I saw an article last week, maybe, about our neighbors to the north, Oswego County got a nice grant from New York State to run or start the process of running water and sewer lines down to some areas of southern Oswego County within a few miles of the Micron site. Do you coordinate much with your counterpart up there? Do you guys ever, or do we ever talk just to see what they're doing versus what we're doing, and just to kind of, see some synergies here, or whatever you want, whatever a good word is for that?
Oh, absolutely. We talked to the folks up there in the planning department, their economic department on a fairly regular basis, as I'm sure economic development does as well. And we do, we certainly exchange ideas, we exchange information. I think that's going to be an exciting project for southern Oswego County. And I don't know what the effect will be in terms of, they're really talking about starting it in 2028. And
Yeah, it's a little ways down the road.
yeah, but no, we talk to them on a regular basis, absolutely. Community mobility. Like I said, this is kind of looking at we're not going to lose the car, but what more can we do to make sure every other type of transportation can thrive? This year, we'll actually be starting our Safe Streets for All strategy plan. We actually received a grant from the federal government to cover 90% of the cost of that. And it's going to take a town-by-town look at the roads in each town, state, county, and local roads, where there are a mass number of accidents, an unusual number of accidents, and then actually propose novel interventions for how to avoid those accidents and things that are actually implementable if there was funding available to actually hopefully cure some of those problems and bring down the number of crashes, deaths, both to pedestrians, bicycles, and vehicle on vehicle. The nice part about this is once we complete the strategy plan, it'll make us eligible to actually apply for federal funding to correct a lot of these problems over time. And there's a substantial pot, or there's in the past been a substantial pot of federal funding for that.
Is this just county roads?
No, we're doing.
We could look at every town and
Yep.
state?
Yep.
Nice, excellent.
Absolutely. It'll be great for municipalities who don't generally have the engineering ability.
Sure.
To look at all their own roads. Next is we're going to start implementation of the bicycle commuter corridor. This was a study that was done a couple of years ago, and now, so we got the ideas. Now it's really to kind of looking at getting the road owners and stakeholders back in the room and figuring out how we actually implement some of these ideas. most fascinating one, well, for me, but the Route 31 transportation assessment. And what this did is, everybody talks about the various forms of transportation we should be utilizing along the Route 31 corridor. So this actually took a look at everything from light rail to just normal bus service. And the nice part is it actually then created the density you would need at each of the hubs to actually support that. Because people love to talk about light rail, but the cost of it is phenomenal, and you need an extreme density of housing and people and jobs to make something like that work. So as you start paring that down, I think, one of the things that I think is attainable, certainly to begin with enhanced bus service, and then actually move towards eventually a bus rapid transit plan down through there as density continues to grow on Route 31. But it was nice because it provided great renderings and density information to each of the municipalities along the Route 31 corridor in terms of what they would need. And then we are working with SOFSA, and we are working with the SMTC to actually do a study that kind of focuses on transportation metrics as it relates to barriers to food access in low-income communities. And I think this is going to put out a lot of great information, a lot of updated information we need, so we can start looking at, where are the food barriers? I think we know where they are, but then where are the transportation gaps and how do you close those two? And that's in the beginning stages, but it's actually a great project that we, along with Dave Knapp, who's on the board of SOFSA, that we really started working with SOFSA on.
The Route 31 transportation set, how did that come about? Like, how was Route 31 identified for it?
It runs along the northern towns where conceivably they'll be most affected by the Micron development.
So Micron.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's already
Yeah.
very, very crowded. Without Micron, it's already very, very crowded.
And the greenways and blueways, it's some of the things we're working on in this area. We're working on a master plan. Collier's Engineering is our partner in this. The idea is to really go through and take a look at our existing inventory of greenways, blueways, and then work with municipalities, landowners, agriculture, the general public, and identify new opportunities for greenways and blueways. And then from there, prioritizing a list, start kind of looking at funding streams that may be available. We can apply for grants with municipalities through the state and federal government to actually start implementing those greenways and blueways. And like I said, it's one of the big focuses is on expanding it, but also making sure there's connectivity to all of these trails. Last year, the county executive put out about $1.6 million for kind of initial grant program for greenways and blueways, and not-for-profits and municipalities were available to apply for it, and so far we've awarded about $935,000. Most of it going for the planning and design and engineering that is needed to actually build the trails, but a lot of them are going right into construction dollars, and it spreads from Baldwinsville on through, and it's hit kind of the majority of the municipalities. And following that up, when the master plan is done, we hope to release another section of grant program that'll actually be able to do implementation of what's in the.
So when you release the grant program, that's still through planning. Does it?
Yeah.
How does like community development and planning kind of work together on any incentives, kind of things like that, or is it kind of different departments?
Different departments,
Okay.
but we work closely together. I
Yeah.
mean, blueways and greenways are kind of a planning initiative more so than anything, but certainly, I mean, Marty Scahan is a dear friend and right down the hall, so
Right.
we work with him on a regular basis.
Are you seeing more state and federal grant money becoming available for greenways and blueways?
Oh yeah, definitely on the state level, more grant money is coming available through the EPF and other sources, as well
So
as
this puts us in a nice position to,
it puts us in a great position. It's also when you apply for these grants, they also want some level of engineering done already. So
exactly.
it's just not a shot in the
Right.
dark. It's actually you can actually do it. So this is actually getting municipalities to the point where they will have the basic they need to apply for those grant programs, and then we can help them apply for it as well. Bear Trap Creek Trail, which would connect Salina to the regional market and Park Street, we've initiated a kind of a working group with SMTC on the connection of that and how you'd go about it, where it would run, various ideas to actually get there, and that would actually open it up to much of Salina with the Bear Trap Creek, existing lengths of the Bear Trap Creek. Another SMTC project we're working on with them is kind of part two of the economic opportunities for the Empire State Trail. So it kind of went through, the initial phase of it went through and kind of looked at each town that's touched by the Empire State Trail and how they could benefit from it, how they could make connections to it. Now this is really kind of narrowing it down to projects in each of those municipalities and working on implementing those projects. And along those lines, actually, Martisco to Atisco Lake is one of those that we're looking at. There's a grant that's been issued to the Village of Camillus to actually connect the Empire State Trail to the hamlet of Martisco at the railroad station. And then the next part of that is actually to go from Martisco to Atisco Lake and identifying the property owners involved and kind of the plan for actually getting there. And when that gets done, that would be a nice multi-mile trail to actually curve off and take you through a lot of fun places. And then agriculture. You know, as I said, we are blessed with having a great amount of prime farmland. We're blessed with having a great amount of progressive farmers who have been here for generations in some cases. In some cases, they're new, but they make sure that we hold on to our title as one of the largest agriculture producing economies in upstate New York. Some of the things we've worked on are phase one of the agritourism grant program, which we put out $790,000, and it was matched by $4.7 million in private investment in various agritourism operations. We worked with the Central New York Regional Market to come up with a strategy plan, and then the executive pledged another $3.75 million that go towards updating the sea shed there. Kind of creating an entrance. Right now, if you don't go to the regional market on a regular basis, you really have no idea how to get into the regional market. So this will actually create a gateway entrance that's notable and that you'll be able to get in through. And then actually creating shared commercial kitchens, which will be great for caterers, great for kind of the ghost kitchen concept for restaurants who are looking to, aren't ready for the bricks and mortar, but they're ready to kind of start doing takeout. And then just people who want to go in and recreate their grandmother's pasta or something and try to market it, things like that, which are very real needs and certainly can add to the economy. And then the Farmland Protection Board, we work with on a regular basis to kind of adopt the Farmland Protection Plan, to talk to them about ag districts, to kind of garner their insight into agriculture.
Just real quick on the regional market, I'm on the board there, and those community commercial kitchens or ghost kitchens or whatever you want to call them, they haven't even quite started construction yet, but they're already kind of booking up. And so they're actually looking at maybe, instead of a couple, maybe 4 or 5, just because of the response that's been getting just from, word on this street. So interesting concept.
Oh, it's an interesting, and it's a huge concept when you look at, the number of new Americans who are living on the north side and what they bring in terms of food and culture that we haven't had here, or we've had in very small numbers. And you think they can grow that out. And, there we have a restaurant. We have a lot of great restaurants now, which aren't your typical Italian restaurants, nothing wrong with them. But it brings a diversity of food to us, so we can really become a foodie city in a lot of ways.
I volunteered to be the official taste tester out at the commercial kitchens.
While we're on the regional market, I also had a question. So I've seen the maps in terms of like street improvements. I keep hearing about a big sign as we enter. Could you speak to the piece or pieces of those improvements that the county is responsible for, and who we're working with on the other elements, briefly?
The county is responsible for the gateway entrance, the improvements to the sea shed, and the construction of the shared commercial kitchen. The city of Syracuse received I think it's about a $3 million grant to actually do the sidewalks and street improvements around the regional market. And then I believe Assemblyman Magnarelli has some money that are going to be doing improvements to the A shed as well as other areas on the
And the gateway will be on Carbon Street or on Park?
on Park
It will be on Park
the
Street.
initial one, but I mean, I think everybody recognizes the need to improve the other entrances as we go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Troy.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I apologize for my tardiness this morning. The ID1 project is in full effect. We're supposed to be 15 minutes behind, however, that delayed me. However, I did have the opportunity, thanks to Ruthny, that I was able to watch as I was sitting in traffic.
It has
So-
been exciting for you.
Well, I felt engaged because I was listening, but I just want to go back to one piece. When you talked about the improvement to Route 31 and the Centro bus lines, Centro has just made an announcement about 2 months ago that they were going to reduce service on the 57 corridor. Um, is there any plans to talk more about that with Centro?
Oh, absolutely. Centro has to go through an entire public hearing process before, so that has not, they're doing a, I'd say semi-regular, but I think it's been 20 years since they've done their last real kind of look at their routes. And they take into account, I'm sure, a wide number of ridership numbers, revenue numbers, et cetera. But yes, there's still plenty of opportunity, and we could certainly facilitate that with you if you'd like.
Because according to the research I've done, they're planning on removing the route that runs 57 down Gaskin and cuts over to Snowdrop and goes back up Gaskin. That services a large part of my constituents, including the Madison Village trailer park that's there off of Gaskin. There's two entrances to that location. One's on 57, one's on Gaskin. Most people prefer the Gaskin one is the closer for these folks to walk. So that's something I feel we should advocate to make sure that we try to keep that route or incorporate it with whatever they're doing on 31, being it's so close to the 57-31 intersection. So just some food for thought there to go ahead and see what we can do to not lose that bus stop.
Oh, absolutely. And, they're reducing service in other areas as well, but I think you have a valid point about Route 57, and we can certainly facilitate the discussion with Centro and advocate for some sort of reasonable bus service up through there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Troy.
You're welcome. Just a couple other things. On Farm Fest is coming up. We helped put it together along with folks at CCE. It's your annual day on the farm event. You can come out, you can see a bunch of different farms. I think we have 12 of them participating, everything from Texas Longhorns to apples, to pumpkins, to everything in between. And part of the reason is just, I think when people think agriculture in central New York, they see the cow and they think the cow. And the cows are an important part of agriculture in central New York, but Onondaga County's breadbasket is much bigger than just dairy. And we grow a lot of vegetables, we grow a lot of fruit, we grow a lot of hay, we grow a lot of the needs of agriculture. And when you get out on Farm Fest, you can really see that and feel that. And I think it's just important. And then it's, anytime I come to the planning committee, I just try to remind everybody.
Absolutely. There we go. Yeah.
Try to remind everybody the Lafayette Apple Festival, from what I understand, I'm told it's the largest event in New York State.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Other than that, that's all I got.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
Yes, I do have a question.
Is it about the Lafayette Apple
No,
Festival?
I know who to go to. Yeah, Apple Fest. My question is about Plan Onondaga. I've been asking this of many different entities, but like, how do we define success? Like, what metrics are we using to, like, baseline? We're doing good, we're doing bad. Like, how do we define that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it could be a much longer discussion we could have too. But I think, at the basis, we go through each of the 5 themes and basically list out what we're doing with each theme and seeing if we're actually making progress.
Okay, just progress.
Yeah.
Moving forward. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank
Great.
you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I had a great time at the planning symposium. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Caitlin Wright, the Executive Director of the Land Bank, here to answer any questions about a transfer resolution and to provide a brief, information here. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I'm Caitlin Wright with the Greater Syracuse Land Bank, and I will be coming again next month to give our full annual report, so I don't have a ton of information for you today, but I was just hoping to get the ball rolling a little earlier this year on removing our funds from contingency. The past few years, Onondaga County has provided $250,000 a year to the land bank in financial support, and the budget passed in September usually puts that money in contingency, and we have to come back to the ledge to get it released. Typically, that happens in April when we do our annual report, and I'm not sure why, but I'm sorry about that. Between April, it took until October last year to actually get the contract signed and get the funds released. And the term is that the money has to be spent during that calendar year. And we're hustling to spend it before the end of the calendar year. So I was just hoping that we could get the ball rolling a little bit earlier.
Oh, speaking to the microphone.
Oh, okay. Are there any questions on the transfer resolution? Do we know, like, this will be up and coming when we go through the budget process to ask more, like, why different funds are in contingency and others are not, and so that will be an ongoing conversation. I don't know.
Plus, next month, we'll get
The-
they always come over with their full annual report
Right.
where we can, ask a lot of questions too,
Okay.
obviously.
I would certainly be grateful if you wanted to not put them in contingency in future years. I think that could also help things go faster. We lose
Time.
several months to this sort of thing. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, if there's no questions, I look for a motion.
I'll move it.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. That was nice and quick. Okay, next we have a reappointment from the county executive to the OCC Board of Trustees. Does anyone have any questions, or is anyone here to speak on that? Oh, perfect. Thank you for so much for coming.
Good morning, everyone. Brian Donnelly, Deputy County Executive. I have on your agenda today the reappointment of Paul Mello to the OCC Board of Trustees. Again, it's a reappointment. I've confirmed with the college management. They're very happy with Mr. Mello, a good source of financial information for the board.
Right. Does anyone have any questions? Then I look for a motion.
Second.
Oh, okay. Did you get that? Oh, perfect. Okay, perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. Motion carries.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, and then next we have the discussion for outside boards. I think Chairwoman would like to.
Yes, just to introduce that. And so we are looking to take care of all outstanding boards and commissions by next legislative set. So that would be the May session. And so it is really important for us to get resumes and suggestions for these boards in the meantime. And so there is a link that has been set up by our staff. It was sent out in the newsletter, the What's the Buzz newsletter that was just launched this last week. I am also going to be directly emailing it to you, and it's on Basecamp. So you can find it multiple places to share with folks that you think might be interested. Your own social media channels would be great if you wouldn't mind putting it out there. We're looking to collect resumes for interest for all different kinds of spaces, whether we're immediately appointing or it's in the future. That link can also be used if you want to use it as a legislator to share resumes or information or names. However, you can also just email myself or the clerks regarding anyone that you would like us to chase down. If you haven't already gotten to speak to the person, but you think that we could or should, if you could please just send us their name and their contact information so that we can follow up and speak more thoroughly with that person to get their resume. And then at next month's committee meeting, we will look at any of those corresponding resumes. I also think it is important to start laying the groundwork around OSIDA. We all know that that is one of the most important boards that we are responsible to appoint people to. They're all important, but they make quite a few decisions regarding pilot agreements. They own a lot of property that has a lot of influence here in our county. And so it is my responsibility to put those folks forward. However, I have matched the discussion of that at this committee level. And there are 2 appointments coming up for that particular board in July. And so I really encourage us to be starting those conversations, to be thinking through that in advance of the need to make those appointments. Any questions for me on this?
Just to go through these a little bit. So we have 2 appointments for the Regional Market Authority, and I believe they have to be vendor. They, yeah, okay, great.
Those individuals listed there are currently board members. So I was going to talk to them about those who would like to continue or,
Okay, great.
I'll have that done.
Thank you. And then you've mentioned OSIDA. And then I think, are we still working towards this steering committee, or is this
Yes, the community development.
the community development steering committee? We need, this is is it legislatures?
Yes.
But it's made by Is it made, it's made by a recommendation from the county executive?
Chairman's
Chair,
recommendation.
okay.
Typically, the chair lands correspondence. Notes recipients. The chair lands part of this board.
Oh, okay, great.
So.
Okay. And then OCDC seems set till the end of the year. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions on outside boards? All right, thank you so much. Let's see. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Moved.
Okay, great. All in favor? Great, we've adjourned at 11:05.